Kentucky mornings start here. WKYT This Morning.
Now at 7 on WKYT This Morning, a man has been arrested in connection with deadly apartment fire in Winchester that killed 3 people and injured 6 others. Republican presidential candidates have their eyes set on 2 key states. The primaries in Florida and Ohio could make or break their campaign. And the Cats rolled past Alabama to advance to the next round of the SEC tournament. Rob Bromley wraps up the win ahead on WKYT This Morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. Happy Saturday to you. I'm Michelle Chamberlain. Sean Moody has the morning off. And before we get a look at news, let's get a look at today's weather with meteorologist Micah Harris.
Yeah, we still have a little rain back toward the west. It's not really for our viewing area. I will say this. If there is a possibility that we actually get a sprinkle or a passing light shower during the morning hours, it's going to be toward the far southwestern areas. You go across the Cumberland Parkway heading back towards 65. That's an area. 150 heading into Springfield or Washington County. That's another area. But for the most part, we stay dry, so if you have any plans this morning, take off, enjoy 50s this morning. It feels great outside. By the afternoon, check it out. We're back in the 70s at 72 degrees. Hit and miss. That means there will be dry slots in the day today, and I'm going to show you when you can expect that with an hour-by-hour forecast coming up.
Thank you, Micah. A man has been arrested in connection to a fire that killed 3 people and injured 6 others at a Winchester apartment building. Police have charged 55-year-old Jackie Heil Jr. with manslaughter. The coroner says Jackie's son, 36-year-old Donald Heil, 29-year-old Tina Reynolds, and 71-year-old Dixie Everman all died as a result of that fire. Investigators still haven't said what caused the fire. Neighbors say they knew it was going to be horrific.
The daylight just brought the ugliness, the ugliness that occurred at night to light. And I knew it was going to be horrific because I saw the cops and the things I smelled and the things I saw, the things I heard. I knew it wasn't going to be any better in the daylight as opposed to it was in the night.
Beacon of Hope, a homeless shelter in Winchester, is collecting donations to give to the families who lost their homes in that fire. They're asking for donations of combs, hairbrushes, baby items, and shampoos. Once again, that shelter is Beacon of Hope. Surveillance video has been released showing a standoff inside a Lexington liquor store. Police say while they were chasing Timothy Caldwell Wednesday night, he ran into Corner Liquor on Georgetown Street. One of the employees in the store hid in a cooler when Caldwell ran in. Police say Caldwell refused to come out for hours. At one point, they say he pointed a gun to his head and took a bottle of liquor off the shelf. The store's owner says he watched it all through his surveillance video.
He came out from this back room area, out this narrow door. He found a firearm.
Around 6 o'clock after the standoff began, police were able to rush into the store and arrest Caldwell. No one was injured. Caldwell faces more than 20 charges, including wanton endangerment, burglary, fleeing from police, and possession of a handgun by a felon. A child is recovering this morning after being hit by a car in Lexington. It happened around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon near the intersection of Bryan Station Road and Rockwood Parkway. Police say the child was in a crosswalk when he was hit. He was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the driver ran a red light before hitting the child. They think the driver may have suffered a medical emergency. House Speaker Greg Stumbo says the House will not approve Governor Bevin's proposed mid-year budget cuts to Kentucky's colleges and universities. The governor wants a 4.5% cut, but Stumbo said the House will pass a budget next week that does not include those cuts. The governor has said he will not sign any budget that does not include the higher education cuts. We are days away from critical GOP primaries in Florida and Ohio. Frontrunner Donald Trump is looking to lock down a lead, and he hopes winning the endorsement of a former rival will do the trick. Jim Acosta has the latest on the campaign.
Trying to close one more deal, this time with the Republican Party, Donald Trump is urging his GOP skeptics to embrace his movement.
This doesn't get talked about in the press. The love that's in these rooms, I mean, it's love. Okay.
Trump picked up the support of one former rival, Ben Carson, who says he's seeing a new side of the real estate tycoon.
There are 2 different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully.
I probably do agree. I think there are 2 Donald Trumps. I'm a big thinker. and I have my ideas, and they're strong, and, you know, typically they've worked out.
Defeating just one Trump is enough trouble for Marco Rubio, who took the drastic step of suggesting that his supporters in Ohio actually vote for that state's governor, John Kasich.
Clearly, John Kasich has a better chance of winning Ohio than I do, and if a voter in Ohio concludes that voting for John Kasich gives us the best chance to stop Donald Trump there, I anticipate that's what they'll do.
Ted Cruz chuckled at that approach.
I'm just laughing because it's the Washington establishment's last gasp. Let's divide things up. Let's play games. It's real simple. How do you beat Donald Trump? You beat him.
But Rubio is pointing to the CNN debate as proof he's still a viable contender, especially after he slammed Trump for defending that incendiary comment that Muslims hate the U.S.
I mean a lot of them. I mean a lot of them.
The problem is presidents can't just say anything they want. It has consequences here and around the world.
Trump seems more concerned about Kasich unleashing this new attack ad.
Ohio. John Kasich has been an absentee governor, spending most of his time everywhere but Ohio.
The GOP frontrunner again brushed off concerns about the violence flaring up at his rallies, even after one of the supporters sucker punched a protester.
We've had some violent people as protesters. You know, they're not just people saying, oh, these are people that punch. These are people that are violent people.
In St. Louis, security hauled off more demonstrators, and Trump said he doesn't mind the spectacle.
Can I be honest with you? It adds to the flavor. It really does. Makes it more exciting. I mean, isn't this better than listening to a long, boring speech?
Republican hopefuls have a chance to win more delegates today. Voting takes place in the District of Columbia and the Pacific island of Guam. Moving on to local news now, we're tracking a developing story out of Lexington this morning. Firefighters are on the scene of a house fire on Della Drive. WKYT's Mike Byer is live at the scene with the latest. Good morning, Mike.
The good news from this house fire, Michelle, is that no one was injured. Firefighters say the man was actually able to escape on his own power when they arrived on scene. He was already outside, so that is the good news out of all of this. Now, the fire started just after 5 a.m. this morning here in the 900 block of Della Drive. Firefighters tell me once again that the man was already outside when they arrived. They say he was not injured in the fire, but they did check him out as a precaution. They say he will not be transported to the hospital. Now, firefighters are still out on scene here. It is still a somewhat active scene as they wrapped up their investigation. They say the fire started in the back of the home and spread to the attic. They were able to contain it pretty quick, though. Over a dozen emergency vehicles responded to the scene. Also on scene are investigators who are trying to determine a cause this morning. Now, Battalion Chief Todd Samuelson tells me the homeowner was very fortunate to make his way out of the house because the home did not have working smoke detectors. He says with daylight savings time approaching us that this is a great time to make sure that our smoke alarms are up and running, meaning that batteries are changed, that they are wired the right way. He says also if you do not have a smoke alarm that you can go down to the fire station. They give them away for free there. He says they will even install them for you. He says these are all choices that could save your life. Live in Lexington, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Good reminder. Thanks so much, Mike. Now, the race hasn't even started, but a Memorial 5K in honor of fallen Richmond police officer has already raised thousands of dollars. The Officer Daniel Ellis Memorial 5K will be held 1 week from today, beginning at Richmond Center. Officer Ellis was killed in the line of duty last fall. His widow, Katie Ellis, says around 1,000 people have signed up for the race, and $50,000 has been raised for the Daniel Ellis Memorial Foundation.
It's been absolutely wonderful. I mean, the community has supported us so much, and I don't know how else to say thank you except for to give back, and that's what we're going to try to do with the foundation.
The Daniel Ellis Memorial Foundation will provide scholarships for first responders who want to go to college. It will also help those in the community who are in need. Well, it's that time of year again. March Madness is here, and the Cats are in Music City for the SEC tournament, and Big Blue Nation has turned it, of course, into Big Blue Nashville. The Cats met Alabama in their first tournament game. Rob Bromley recaps the Cats' win from Nashville.
Here in Nashville, the Cats get this postseason off and running with a bang in the SEC quarterfinals, defeating Alabama last night. And how about the outside shooting? Alex Poitras finishing up with 20. He hit 4 3-pointers, and then it was Jamal Murray who heated up, finishing with 23. Kentucky goes on to win it 85-59.
I mean, every game I step off the court, I try to have a big game. You know, sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't, you know, but but, you know, everybody was just great offensively. You know, we played a complete game today. We're just looking to build on it tomorrow.
It's a lot of fun, especially when guys like Alex are making threes. You know, it's just we were out there just having fun, running around, trying to get things going in transition. And when guys are making shots, it's just a lot easier.
So if we're shooting the ball well, we'll be a difficult team for anybody to play. And it's what you just said. We haven't had a healthy team until now.
The Wildcats have now won 8 of their last 10, and they will get the Georgia Bulldogs in the semifinals this afternoon. Georgia defeating South Carolina last night by 1 point. In Nashville at Bridgestone Arena, Rob Bromley, WKYT.
Should be a good game. That's at 3 o'clock today. Your time now is 7:10 on this Saturday morning, and there's still plenty ahead. We'll take a look at what movies are hitting the box office this weekend that you might be interested in.
Got a little rain back toward the west. Is it going to be an absolute washout today or tomorrow? I'm going to break that down. I've got the hour-by-hour forecast coming to you next.
Get WKYT news and weather updates on 104.5 The Cat. Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
Hey, good Saturday morning. It's 7:15, almost 7:15, and we're getting things going on a nice note. Now, you work your way south and southwest. You get towards, say, Adair County, Taylor County, work your way up 68, also 150 rolling through Washington, and also heading off toward Danville and Perryville. Those are areas, Casey County, Dunnville, Liberty, you guys could possibly see a passing sprinkle or a light shower here within the next couple of hours. We're seeing that in Adair County as we speak, Columbia area. But the mass of this rain is actually moving northbound. It's rolling right along 65. It won't really affect us that much. The main thing it's doing is just throwing off cloud cover. But this area in general, back toward the west, can expect maybe a passing light shower or a sprinkle, and that's it. If you have any 5Ks going on, stick to them. It's going to be beautiful. Perfect weather for 5Ks. You got the Shamrock Shuffle going on downtown here in the next hour or so, and it's good weather for it. Let's talk about your afternoon weather, because the morning is mainly dry. I don't see much going on during the morning hours. Afternoon time, here's noontime. Still looks good, right? Temperatures there in the low to mid 70s. And then here's what happens. Then we start to get some of this sparking up. Yeah, a couple of showers, a couple of rumbles of thunder. It's definitely not a washout. You can see that. However, a passing shower or a rumble of thunder, it's a possibility. That goes for the parade too here in downtown Lexington. If you have any parades going on across your neck of the woods, just know passing shower or rumble of thunder is a possibility, but it's passing. It doesn't mean a big massive rain coming through. It means it'll last 10, 15 minutes max out of that, and it moves on. So that's the way it's going to be throughout the afternoon hours. Any outdoor plans, stick with them. I'm actually going to be downtown at that time for all those festivities going on for St. Patty's Day. Love to see you down there. And once we head off into the evening, planning on watching any sporting events. I know our ball game's at 3 p.m., but after that, if you're planning on heading out to eat, still that passing shower thunderstorm opportunity lies within the evening hours too. Let's go overnight and into tomorrow morning. Look at that. Pretty widespread. Heading off to church tomorrow morning, there is that opportunity to see scattered showers and thunderstorms. Not a complete washout, but it's pretty close. Your 7-day forecast. Here is your look. You add that rain to the forecast tomorrow. That'll kind of get you down and make you not want to get out of bed. Not only that, but you're going to lose that hour of sleep. Put that combo together, and you will see two tired people right here early
right here tomorrow morning.
We're going to get you up to date, though, no doubt about it.
And we have young kids, so
I know,
their
that adds
sleep
to
schedule
it.
gets all out of whack.
That's right. That's right. That's
Oh,
the way
well,
it goes.
we'll be here.
Yep.
Smiles on our faces.
There you go.
When WKYT This Morning returns, if you need something to do this weekend, besides, of course, watching the Cats play, you might want to head to the movies. We'll take a look at what's out this weekend ahead on WKYT This Morning. Welcome back to WKYT This Morning. St. Patrick's Day will arrive a little bit early here in Lexington. The 37th annual St. Patrick's Day Parade and Festival will be today in downtown Lexington. The all-day celebration begins at 8 o'clock this morning with the 10th Shamrock Shuffle to benefit Habitat for Humanity. At 11 o'clock, it's the annual Blessing of the Keg at Cheapside Park. That's followed by the parade at 1 o'clock. A Northern Kentucky community will party today for a good cause. They're helping rebuild An historic business. The 185-year-old Rabbit Hash General Store burned down last month in Boone County. Now the Rabbit Hash Bash will be held today in Fort Thomas. A silent auction starts at noon and will last until about 4 o'clock. Dinner will be served from 4 to 6. The money raised will go to help rebuild the store. There's a lot to choose from at the cinema this weekend. 4 new movies open in wide release. David Daniel looks at your choices and how they're expected to fare at the box office.
10 Cloverfield Lane is the only new movie even given a chance to challenge Zootopia for the weekend title. Mary Elizabeth Winstead and John Goodman star in the sci-fi thriller, which is getting great reviews. Analysts expect it to at least make back its $15 million budget on opening weekend.
Oh, will you stop shooting everything?
The rest of the field doesn't figure to fare as well. The Brothers Grimsby, Sacha Baron Cohen's send-up of the spy genre, is tracking lower than his last comedy, The Dictator, around $8 million.
Seek a family from Nazareth with a boy named Jesus.
'Tis the season for faith-based films. This weekend brings The Young Messiah, about the childhood of Jesus. The filmmakers have pursued a grassroots campaign, sending the director to religious conferences, which is expected to yield a $7 million debut.
As soon as I have sex with them, it's like all of my interests magically disappear.
Time to grow up. Finally, there's The Perfect Match, about a playboy who decides to take a romantic relationship seriously. Terrence J. and Cassie Ventura star in the Love Fest, which analysts have pegged for about a $5 million opening. Out of all those, hope there's a movie for you to love this weekend. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Your time now is 7:21. There's still more to come. This morning, sports is next.
The Wildcats roll the Tide in Nashville. We'll have the highlights next in sports.
We have a little rain to go through as we track throughout today and tomorrow. I'm going to show you which day has the best opportunity to stay dry. Coming up next. A few raindrops down in the far southwestern areas. This will start to fade away. We see down toward Adair County, go off into Greene County, also Metcalfe, those areas. It's heading northbound, but remember, that's just a few sprinkles. Nothing about that is anything to write home about. You go toward Bowling Green, this massive rain is heading northbound. Not northeast, not east, but northbound, so it won't really affect us that much. During the morning hours, that means if you're heading out to anything going on, we have St. Patty's Day festivities downtown. You have some in your area, too, in your cities and towns as well. Good looking morning, 50s outside is perfect there for any 5Ks, anything you have going. Getting the kids outside will be great today. I will say this, you will have a passing shower or a rumble of thunder. Definitely not a washout. If you have anything going on, stick with it. Just know it could pass over you, lasts about 10 minutes or so, and then moves on. Temperatures back in the 70s for today. Let's check out sports, see what's going on.
John Calipari had said that the first game of the SEC tournament is always the toughest. Well, I'm not sure his Wildcats took that message to heart last night against Alabama. Kentucky with a home court advantage in Nashville, taking on the Tide. First half, Kentucky up 6. Tyler Eulis drives, gets fouled, and gets the tough shot to fall. Kentucky up 9 after the made free throw. Lots to smile about on Friday night. Later in the half, Jamal Murray throws it up to Marcus Lee for the stuff. Kentucky up 10 at the half. Second half, Kentucky now up 9, about to be 12. That's Eulis, deep three-pointer. Wildcats had a season-high 13 threes in this one, including 4 from Alex Poitras. Under 3 minutes left in the game, Isaiah Briscoe comes up with the steal. Murray with the dunk. Murray finished with a team-high, game-high 23 points. Kentucky wins big 85-59. In many ways, the story, though, of the game was the play of Alex Poitras. He had just 2 threes before this game. He had 4 last night.
Coach said he can, no, actually not even Coach Rob, my strength and condition coach, said he can tell what kind of game Alex is going to have within the first 5 minutes of the game. So,
what's the giveaway?
I mean, I don't know. You gotta go interview Rob for that.
I just can tell by, his body language, just what he looks like. That's about it, man. And, I can just tell within the first 5 minutes of the game what he's going to do. And today I could tell, look in his eyes, that he was going to have one heck of a day and just be a beast out there on the court. Obviously, you're a confident shooter, but did you even see a night like this coming where you just red hot like that?
I mean, yeah, I did. I mean, I was shooting, so. No, but now I'm just confident. I was hitting the shots, holding my follow through, everything like that.
I like the idea of talking to the strength and conditioning coach, Rob Harris. I wonder what old Rob has to say about the semifinal matchup tonight against Georgia. That's right, Georgia. The Bulldogs upset South Carolina last night in the late game in Nashville. So now it's Kentucky against Georgia tonight, or this afternoon rather, in the SEC semifinals. That's Look at Your Morning Sports. Have a great day.
Now at 7:30 on WKYT this morning, a Lexington home catches on fire this morning, but firefighters say no one was injured. We're live at the scene with the latest. A Clark County man is in jail this morning after he was arrested in connection with the deadly apartment fire in Winchester. And protesters may be the only thing that can stop Donald Trump. A large group of protesters in Chicago forced him to cancel a couple of rallies. That's ahead on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning to you. I'm Michelle Chamberlain. Thanks so much for joining us on this Saturday morning. And what could be a little bit of a wet Saturday morning, maybe, Micah?
Yeah, it's a little bit of one for portions of our viewing area. About 90% of us stay dry, but the 10% you got to get down toward the Cumberland Parkway, go off toward Adair County, Russell County, Taylor County, and now looking toward Casey County. Those are areas that could get some sprinkles early this morning. Other than that, that massive rain moves north of us and moves off into Indiana. There you go, looking at Frankfort, Mountain Parkway, Lexington, Jackson. There's clouds overhead, but there's no rain falling across the region except for that far southwestern area. Now, it's hit and miss this afternoon. I believe the afternoon is going to be, no doubt, a better chance than this morning, because this morning, only about a 10% chance. But this afternoon's hit and miss. I'll explain what that means, how you can make your plans as you go through the day, coming up.
Thank you, Micah. We're tracking a developing story out of Lexington this morning. Firefighters are on the scene of a house fire over on Della Drive. WKYT's Mike Byer is live at the scene with the latest.
Firefighters are still on scene. They are wrapping up this morning after a house fire went through this house just after 5 a.m. Now, the good news out of all of this is that no one was injured in this house fire. Now, the fire started just after 5 a.m. 5:09 to be exact. Firefighters say when they arrived on scene that the man was already outside. They say he was not injured in the fire, but they did check him out as a precaution. They say he will not be transported to the hospital. Now, firefighters say it started in the back of the home and spread to the attic. They were able to contain it pretty quick, though. Over a dozen emergency vehicles helped put out this fire. Also on scene are investigators who are trying to determine a cause. Now, Battalion Chief Todd Samuelson tells me the homeowner was very fortunate to escape injury because the home did not have any working smoke alarms.
The house didn't have any working smoke alarms. So again, this is a reminder, make sure that your smoke alarms are working. And with the time change that's coming up, this is a good time to change the batteries in your smoke alarms.
Says if you are in need of a smoke alarm, that they give them away for free at the station. He says they will even install them for you. He says it's a choice that could save your life. Live in Lexington, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Thank you, Mike. Now, a man has been arrested in connection to a fire that killed 3 people and injured 6 others at a Winchester apartment building. Police have charged 55-year-old Jackie Heil Jr. with manslaughter. The coroner says Jackie's son, 36-year-old Donald Heil, 29-year-old Tina Reynolds, and 71-year-old Dixie Everman all died as a result of that fire. Investigators still haven't said what caused the fire. A Breathitt County kidnapping suspect is back in custody after police say he escaped from a transport van. Police say they arrested David Haddix a few hours after the escape near Kentucky 52 and Colts Fork Road. Police also arrested 3 others who were with him, Jesse Fugate, Tyler Fugate, and James Begley. They were each charged with hindering apprehension. Police also think they knew each other. Haddix's mother told us she hoped her son would get away.
I mean, I was rooting for him. I won't lie to you, I'm a mother. Anybody in the same situation would feel the same way if it was their son.
Haddix was arrested last June on kidnapping and robbery charges. His mother says he didn't commit those crimes, which is why he tried to escape. Chief Spicer says Haddix escaped from the jail transport van by kicking the back door open. Now Haddix will have an escape charge added to his record. New this morning, Lexington police say a man is okay after hitting a guardrail and flipping his truck. It happened on the inner loop of West New Circle Road and Harrodsburg Road near 3 o'clock last night. Police tell us a truck ran off the road, hit the guardrail and a tree before landing upside down. Police say the driver was trapped inside and the fire department had to get him out of the truck. We're told the driver will be okay. Police shut down part of New Circle overnight, but it's back open this morning. Lexington police also responded to an injury accident on East High Street and South Ashland Avenue. We're told a taxi hit a telephone pole. Police say the driver was taken to the hospital to get checked out, and they don't believe alcohol was a factor. Police say the pole did not break, but Kentucky Utilities was on the scene to double check. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump canceled one of his rallies due to safety concerns. Trump's campaign made the decision last night after protesters packed into the arena in Chicago where the rally was supposed to be held. Trump was expecting to hold a rally at the Duke Energy Center in Cincinnati tomorrow, but his campaign says that will not be happening. The campaign is still looking for a site in Cincinnati to hold a rally either tomorrow or Monday. Craig Boswell has more from the White House.
Protesters clashed with officers and with each other outside the University of Illinois after Donald Trump postponed his rally because of safety concerns.
Thank you very much for your attendance, and please go in peace.
The crowd of thousands erupted after the announcement. Fights broke out as people confronted each other. Some got violent. At least one person charged the podium. The crowd spilled into the streets of Chicago.
It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience to see a presidential candidate, and to walk outside and people are just yelling at you.
Power to the people! Power to the people! I'm happy they didn't allow this in our city.
But some say postponing the rally was a mistake.
I think it's a bad precedent because it's going to encourage more bad behavior.
Donald Trump called into MSNBC to defend the move.
Chicago is the home of some very, very bad rallies. I don't want to see anything like that happen, so I made a decision.
Get him out of here.
Earlier Friday, 32 people were arrested at Trump's rally in St. Louis.
I'll tell you, these are not good people, folks, just so you understand. Yeah.
Trump dismissed claims that he is dividing the country and using hateful speech. Craig Boswell, CBS News, Washington.
Now, Trump has 3 rallies planned for today. One rally is scheduled for Kansas City. Its mayor said if people are concerned, don't attend. And if you go, do not engage. Now, the state has decided to go after the death penalty in a Western Kentucky murder case. The state announced yesterday that they will pursue the death penalty in Timothy Madden's case. Madden is accused of killing 7-year-old Gabby Doolin back in November in Allen County. The state had until the end of the month to make a decision on the death penalty. Madden is scheduled to be back in court in July. In Simpson County, state police have charged a man accused of killing, or rather shooting, a deputy. Ben Wyatt is accused of shooting Deputy Eddie Lawson when Lawson tried to serve Wyatt a warrant earlier this week. State police say Wyatt shot Lawson twice. Lawson shot Wyatt in the arm. Deputy Lawson was taken to the hospital in Nashville. We are told he is expected to survive. Wyatt was taken to a hospital after he was caught. He has since been released and has been charged with attempted murder of a police officer. Jessamine County paramedic John Mackey died last November after being hit by a car. Since his death, communities around the Bluegrass have reached out to help his family. Now, Nicholasville firefighters are raising money for Mackey's family. They've sold nearly 300 raffle tickets with a pair of emergency personnel boots as the grand prize. That totals up to about $750. Other fellow firefighters are pushing for a bill in the state legislature dubbed the John Mackey Bill to also help out Mackey's family.
EMS receives no death benefit. This bill that's on the floor will give EMS workers a death benefit just as it would the firefighters as if they're killed in line of duty.
Mackey's stepfather Joe Kinney says the bill would give death benefits to 14,000 EMS workers across the state. The John Mackey Bill, or Senate Bill 43, goes to the House committee this Wednesday. Your time now is 7:38 on this Saturday morning. Some moments, whether or not you want them, live forever on the internet. The same is true for presidential candidates. The New York Times says political gifts are a big part of this campaign season. That's ahead on WKYT this morning.
Whether you're sticking around here or actually taking off to Nashville here in just the next couple of hours, I'm going to give you the forecast for both areas and show you when you can expect dry slots. Coming up next.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
couple of sprinkles down toward the far southwestern areas of our viewing area. Other than that, we're pretty dry. It looked pretty good this morning. I know we have mostly cloudy skies, but in terms of anything falling out of the sky, there's just not much out there. You got to get toward Adair County, Russell, and now over Dunnville in Casey County, southern Casey County. Good morning to you guys. Looks like we're going to have a couple of sprinkles, but that will fade away. Really, the batch of rain that you see here is moving northbound. So that, for the most part, stays to the west of I-65. It doesn't really affect us all that much. You could have a few sprinkles across the western zones, 150, 127, 68. Those are areas, if they go through your county or your town, then know that you do have that sprinkle chance this morning. Other than that, staying dry. 51 degrees in Jackson. Nice looking start over there. We're at 52 degrees in the capital city, 53 now in Mountain Parkway. If you're heading downtown to Lexington, morning hours look mainly dry, not seeing much to go on during the morning hours. Maybe a passing shower, light shower. That's about it. But it's really afternoon. I would say anytime from noontime to about 5 p.m. is when you can see a passing shower or a rumble of thunder. That's your best bet during that time. But remember, it's a passing shower thunderstorm. That means most of your day is going to be dry, but you could have one roll over you 10, 15 minutes, it's gone, and you're good to go. And so, yeah, just stick to any plans you have going on. The parade's going on at 1 p.m. Cats play at 3 p.m. You have Disney on Ice downtown. Just have a lot going on. Downtown's going to be packed. Should be fun. 8 p.m., you're going out to dinner. It's at 67 degrees. This is the time that a lot of these restaurants just kind of open up their patio area. If you stay dry, which is a good likelihood that you actually do, there's still a chance of rain during that time, but the likelihood's better that you actually stay dry. 67, yeah, sit out on the patio. Looks just fine. Now, going off into the night and into tomorrow, we have the rain really increasing. It's not just for us. If you're heading to Nashville here within the hour or 2 hours, it's about a 3.5-hour trip, so you'll have plenty of time to get there for the game. But Saturday and Sunday, today is more of kind of hit and miss activity. I think Sunday is kind of a little better opportunity, but for the most part, it's just like what we're dealing with. It's a hit and miss type of setup that you're going to be rolling through heading down 65. 7-day forecast, here is your look. And we're 72 today. Set your clocks forward later on tonight. Don't forget about that. And you get that storm chance for tomorrow. Tomorrow's no doubt about it a better chance of rain than today. But I'll be downtown right around 1 p.m. looking at the parade, St. Patty's Day Parade. Should be a fun event. A lot of things going on before that, too, so you can get the kids out and have a good old time.
Yep, and I said it earlier, if you don't see him in his green, just give him a little pinch, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can have all these people pinching you.
I would rather get punched than pinched, man. I hate getting pinched. Yeah, well, I do.
Don't do that.
That's right.
Okay. Ted Cruz will forever be making moose antlers. Donald Trump will forever be making faces. And CNN's Jenny Moos will forever be making hay as the 2016 becomes the presidential campaign when all the oddball moments are played on a perpetual loop. Take a look.
It's happened again.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Oh, yes, it did.
Not gonna happen.
Another campaign moment turned into an endless loop. Just like when that eagle pecked Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders. Danced his way onto Ellen. The New York Times declared political GIFs are the new sound bites this campaign season. GIF, graphics interchange format, animated looping images only seconds long. And though there's a never-ending argument over how to pronounce the word, the inventor says it should be GIF, not GIF, GIF, as in the peanut butter. I was turned into a GIF in a matter of moments.
Voila.
No one's more GIFable than this guy. GIFs and 6-second vines. Donald Trump just did every emoji face on your phone in 7 seconds.
He wouldn't want, quote, such a hothead with his finger on the nuclear codes.
The COO of a company called Giphy, with a hard G, says politicians are getting more savvy.
Candidates turning themselves into sort of like visual language, so like shrugging or finger guns or brushing your shoulders off like Hillary Clinton did.
Her campaign tweeted out a dismissive gesture from the Benghazi hearings as a response to what was said at a Republican debate. Reacting to another GOP debate, she rubbed her temples. Marco Rubio became a GIF when he desperately grabbed for a bottle of water. Then Donald Trump's imitation of Rubio likewise became a GIF. But don't expect any context.
Not gonna happen.
The Cruz moosier moment came when he imitated his daughter, reacting to a TV commentator saying it would be a disaster for Cruz if Trump won Texas.
Jumps up on the couch, sticks both fingers in her ears and goes, not gonna happen, not gonna happen.
You can expect these to happen and happen and happen and live on in cyberspace till the end of time.
Please clap.
Ginny Mo, CNN.
Not gonna happen.
New York.
Not gonna happen.
So it's GIF, not GIF, and I think that you need a GIF.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to see them.
Those are so neat. I love those. Good.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. More news will come back when we return.
Good morning. I'm Bill Bryant. So how did Kentucky's Republican caucus go a week ago today? And will there be another in the future? A preview of Kentucky Newsmakers is coming up.
Kentucky mornings start here. You're watching WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. Hope you're having a nice weekend. A week ago today, Kentucky Republicans held a presidential caucus, and Donald Trump won a victory over Ted Cruz, who was a close second. How did it go, and will the Republicans hold a caucus again? UK political science professor Stephen Voss joined us to talk about that and other issues in this exciting political year for Kentucky newsmakers. How did the Republicans do in holding the contest for Kentucky's Republican delegates last weekend?
Well, you know, the numbers weren't bad, but when you consider that we had a really hotly contested Republican battle, I do think it ran some people off. And, you know, I heard some stories of people going, seeing lines, and leaving. So there's some costs to having a caucus, but it is a more involved process, and maybe you're willing to make that trade-off. You know, if, fewer people voting maybe, but people who are more involved and more interacting with each other.
Are those the kinds of things that the Republicans have to be thinking about now as they assess how things went and decide how to go forward as to whether they'll have a primary or a caucus in 4 years?
Well, the danger of a caucus is you get the more hardcore people, and that may result in different candidates. It doesn't usually, but on occasion in some states, a caucus, you get a different candidate than you would have gotten if you had a primary and voting were easier to do.
Kentucky having this caucus early meant that Kentucky was perhaps more relevant in the process. The Democrats still have their presidential primary coming up in May. We don't know by then if Kentucky will be relevant, although at this point it looks like that may happen.
Well, normally you wouldn't expect this primary to matter, but with Sanders and Clinton so neck and neck, especially among the delegates that the voters control, it could very well go down to the wire with them. If Clinton starts picking up victories outside the South, which she hasn't been able to do very well so far, then maybe by the time it gets here, she'll have pulled away. But it's not looking as though it's going to resolve itself anytime soon.
Well, on the Republican side, Trump was the winner here in Kentucky. Ted Cruz coming in a close second. Many establishment Republicans are trying to stop Trump. Can they stop him?
Well, we'll see pretty soon. Florida is looking like a Trump victory, and if Trump picks up Florida the way it seems as he will, beating favorite son Marco Rubio, he'll be pretty tough to stop with the numbers. It's not impossible, but it gets really unlikely.
What do you think the concerns of the establishment Republicans are? Why, you know, they so fear the possibility of Trump being at the top of the ticket?
Well, you know, Trump's dangerous in two different ways. On the one hand, on certain issues, immigration, foreign policy, he's talking very tough, sounding very conservative, and could run off voters that could have been available to them in the general election. On the other hand, on a whole host of issues, he's not really a Republican, and there's no reason to expect he'll be able to set up a coherent message that people running for Senate can mimic, can stand behind. And so not only might they lose the White House, the Republicans could risk losing the U.S. Senate when they might not have, even with a fairly conservative but real Republican candidate.
Now you can see our full conversation with Dr. Voss and my interview with Centerpoint developer Dudley Webb, who says things are back on track at that major project. It's coming up on Kentucky Newsmakers, which airs tomorrow morning at 6 on WKYT and repeats tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the CW Lexington. I'm Bill Bryant. We're coming right back on WKYT This Morning.
Get weather plus traffic with a WKYT weather app. Have the Defender Radar Network in the palm of your hand while checking your driving conditions for your commute on the same screen. Weather plus traffic on the WKYT weather app.
Hey, welcome back. Time now is 7:56. So now we're talking about a turtle selfie.
Yes, have you ever heard of this?
No, I haven't.
Me neither. Well, now you will. There's this tortoise, and it's keeping up with the latest trends by posing for a selfie. This is Allie. She's seen here with Dr. Gary West from the Phoenix Zoo. Now, West was documenting how often the 80-something-year-old tortoise was hiccuping when Allie approached him and took a peek at the camera. West says he took the opportunity to snap a picture and walked away with this memorable moment. Check that out. That tortoise is huge. Weighs 600 pounds. What a selfie.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool selfie. It's not bad.
Pretty cool, huh?
Okay, so here's what we're talking about later on. Here's the hour-by-hour forecast. I'm going to take you through it. Most of your morning is dry. Remember, a couple of sprinkles, far southwestern areas. Then we get into the afternoon. There's noontime, 70s. Looks pretty good, right? Look at the afternoon. Anywhere from 2 to 5 p.m. Heads up for a passing shower or a thunderstorm.
Looking good. Umbrella for the parade?
Yeah, just in case.
Okay. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.